Hello friends, this is Worm, and by the hand of a wonderful helper, which you can go check out on our Twitter page, we are back with another episode of Exotic Recrafting, the series where we talk about weak, underused, or maybe even straight up bad exotics, why they are in the state that they're in, and of course how we can change them to make them better. And like I said, over on our Twitter, we had a little hand help us pick out the topic for today's video, which is Huckleberry. Now I want to precurse this by saying Huckleberry is not a bad exotic. I think Huckleberry falls into, and I wouldn't even say it's a weak exotic. It falls into the category of that underused exotic because Huckleberry is really, it's good. It's very good, but I think that it's just outclassed by so many other weapons in the game. And that's kind of a shame because Huckleberry is such a really, it's a neat weapon. It's very cool. Its exotic perks are cool. Its unique version of Rampage is cool, which we'll talk about that in just a second, but it doesn't see a whole lot of usage, and we're going to talk about why. But let's first of all cover what the weapon actually does. So of course, its exotic perk is Ride the Bull. This weapon, as you hold down the trigger, it fires faster, but with more recoil, and when you get kills with it, it will partially reload the magazine. Pretty decent perk, so it's basically got subsistence built into it. It's got a pseudo version of onslaught and subsistence. It's like a smaller version of sweet business, maybe, if you will, but basically every time you shoot 10 bullets without stopping, the fire rate jumps up from 720 to, I don't remember the second one, but then at its highest, which is ×2 stacks, it's firing at 900 rounds per minute. And it doesn't lose damage, so it kind of follows that onslaught trait where it doesn't drop off in damage, which makes it pretty good. It also, like we said, it has subsistence as well, and it's not called subsistence, but it's built into the weapon. The other perk that it has is Rampage, and I want to put an asterisk by Rampage because it's not like Rampage on other weapons. Rampage on other weapons caps out at, I believe, 30% or 35%, somewhere in there. Rampage on the Huckleberry, I believe, caps out at 60 or 66%, which is a lot more than regular Rampage, which kind of makes sense with the weapon. You know, you're getting kills with it, you're mowing down groups of ads, you are getting that damage higher up, you're reloading the magazine, you're getting a faster fire rate. Like, it's all built into killing these, killing low tier enemies and just absolutely melting them, cutting them down like a lawnmower, if you would. But there's a lot of weapons that do that. Oh, and it also has a catalyst too. The catalyst basically will allow it to fully reload its magazine when you get a kill instead of just partially reloading it. And that's something I really want to make sure to put out there, because without the catalyst, this weapon feels incredibly weak. With the catalyst, it just feels much stronger, because whether it takes 3 bullets to kill an enemy or 29 bullets to kill an enemy, that full reload definitely helps the weapon out a lot. But let's take a look at why it's underused. And I think it's just underused because there are so many better options for ad clear in the game. You've got things like Risk Runner. Risk Runner is great for ad clear. Trinity Ghoul is great for ad clear. You have a bunch of newer weapons that are coming into the fray, like Tiku's Divination, which isn't brand new, but it's newer than Huckleberry and some of those other weapons. But you have a ton of exotics that just do ad clear much better, or that have more utility. Not only that, but exotics, a couple years ago, they got a buff, so the exotic primary weapons deal a flat 40% more damage to red bar enemies. And this is in my opinion one of the major killers of this weapon. This is whenever I saw this weapon go from being pretty high up on the list, like, hey, that's pretty good, to very, very low usage rates. And the reason why is because most red bar enemies, they're taking like 2 to 3 shots from exotic primaries to kill anyways. I mean, this is all the way up into incredibly high level content like Grandmasters and stuff like that. Like, they're not taking very long to kill, because something like Quicksilver Storm, for example, is killing them at a very comparable speed. And yeah, Huckleberry can get to a point where it can do it faster, which is a bit, that is technically like a draw to it, but the margin of difference between something like Quicksilver Storm and Huckleberry is so minimal. And Huckleberry doesn't do anything else. Like Quicksilver Storm, for example, you have the grenade launcher mode feature, whatever. Wish Ender can one-shot most red bars. It also has the ability to stagger unstoppable champions. Like, every other weapon in the game, well, not every other, but most other exotics that you see more out in the wild have just better utility than Huckleberry. Huckleberry does one thing, and it does the one thing very good, and that's clearing ads. But there's so many ad clear weapons. Like I said, Trinity Ghoul is a fantastic example of one, and even you have legendary perks that are moving up in the tier list, like Breakneck, for example. Breakneck with Subsistence and Onslaught. Like that is a budget Huckleberry, for lack of a better terms. And I think that's what's keeping Huckleberry held back, is all of the exotic primaries that we have are dealing 40% more damage. It's making the red bar killing kind of null. And yeah, like, don't get me wrong, like, it's nice because you can kill red bars faster with Huckleberry, especially once you get the rampage stacks going. But at the same time, I think also Huckleberry is one of those weapons that's where it really shines when you have a massive group of ads just like coming at you. Like, you know, you got 50 Thrall coming at you. But realistically, how often is that happening in Destiny 2? Not very much. Like, yeah, we have a bunch of ad dense areas, you know, in like some things like the Battlegrounds, for example. Battlegrounds, it's ad dense, but I don't know if it's ad dense to the point that Huckleberry is as viable as other weapons that can do similar or even subclass synergistic things as compared to Huckleberry. But let's talk about how we can change Huckleberry, how we can make it better, because I actually had a really neat idea. I want to start with the Ride the Bull perk, which is the perk that increases your rate of fire, but also your recoil as you hold on the trigger. Now, I know thematically Ride the Bull having more recoil, they go hand in hand, but at this point, like, it's time for that to go. We have so many weapons that have little to no recoil that having that additional recoil on Huckleberry just feels kind of cumbersome. As you know, your fire rate's going up, your recoil, and it's not just your up and down recoil, it's your side to side recoil. Your side to side recoil, it's really bouncing around, and that's very, very difficult to deal with. And that's another reason why, you know, when you have 50 thralls coming at you, not an issue. It's not an issue at all. But if you've got enemies that are more spread out and you're trying to bounce between targets while not letting off the trigger because you don't want to lose that fire rate increase and whatnot, it's a lot more difficult. The subsistence perk on it, I think, my opinion, I think that the subsistence style perk should just be replaced by the catalyst. Like, the catalyst should do something completely different. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But the first thing I would say needs to happen is that increased recoil should go. Every other weapon in the game that has ramping up fire rate, like Thunderlord, Sweet Business, for example, their recoil seems to kind of steady out over time. Thunderlord especially, you know, Thunderlord, it's kicking all over the place, but by the time you're at its max fire rate, it's very, very stable. And I'm not saying we necessarily need something like that with Huckleberry, not something that's more stable, but something, you know, the recoil should not increase as the fire rate goes up. And that's the first change I was making. Like I said, the second change would be replacing the subsistence aspect of the perk with just the catalyst, which every kill you get, whether you have the catalyst or not, will fully refill that magazine. Now, when it comes to Rampage, I like Rampage on this weapon. I think that thematically it works, and it does work very well, but I think that a full overhaul of Rampage needs to be put into place. And I think that Rampage should just go. We should just totally reinvent like a new perk for this weapon. And basically the idea I have behind this is taking something like pardon me, Worm God's Caress, or what's another weapon that has the little bar on the side. You know what I'm talking about, like the little bar that fills up over time. And what I think Huckleberry should do is it should have one of those bars. And the bar fills up by getting kills, and every time you get a kill, it will fill up 20% of the bar. And as you're holding on the trigger, it will keep that, it will slowly just fill up the bar. So as you lay on the trigger, you're slowly filling up the bar, and as you're getting kills, it's giving you 20%, 20%, 20%. Now, 20% stack up to 5 times, so that now Huckleberry is dealing 100% more damage, which is a lot of damage. But in order to keep that damage up, you have to be either getting kills or you have to be laying on the trigger and firing. Then, when you stop getting kills and you stop firing, the bar slowly starts to decay. And I would say maybe have it decay at like the same pace as Rampage. Like each, over a course of 5 seconds, the bar goes back down. Or maybe like a course of like, maybe a little bit more, maybe like 6 seconds, the bar will go from that 100% back down to 0%. This way, if, for example, ads are kind of spread out, but there's still a lot of them, you can get a kill, Okay, you know, you cut down the first 5 enemies because they're all grouped together. Kill them all, you got 100% more damage. Then you have to switch target, kill another enemy, switch target, kill another enemy. That way, you know, as long as there's enough targets close by, you can easily cut them down. But once you start losing targets, once targets start thinning out and stuff like that, that bar starts to decay. It's like, okay, well, now it dropped down to 60%, you get another kill, so it jumps up to 80%. Then it starts to decay even more until it's back at 0%. I think this rework would be really strong for Huckleberry. It would really solidify its place as the ad clearing mow machine, whatever you want to call it, the lawn mower, if you want to call it that, where it can cut down ads, but you're not constantly losing that. And another idea that I had, and y'all tell me what you think about this, but perhaps tied to that bar is also your fire rate. So if that bar is full, that's when you're firing at that max fire rate. You know, you've got it up, but as the bar slowly decays, you know, because you have to reload, your fire rate's dropping. That way, after you reload, you don't lose your entire fire rate. Because I think that's one of the drawbacks of Huckleberry is, yeah, you can use it to cut down ads, but as you're sitting there, you're shooting an ad, you've got that, you ride the bulls ×2 stacked, you just reloaded. If there's not another ad very close by, so that you can so that you can just keep firing and change targets, like you're not getting a whole lot of use out of Ride the Bull. Like, yes, it is technically increasing your time to kill. I'm not saying that it's not, but again, it's not doing it quite enough to make it viable, in my opinion. So maybe tying Ride the Bull into that bar so that you're up to full bar, firing 900 rounds per minute. You stop shooting so that you can switch targets. It's, you know, 180 right behind you, switch targets, start shooting again, keep that 900 round per minute up. Maybe once you could even go as far as tying it into Rampage. You know, we had Breakneck back when it was first came to the game. Rampage and Onslaught worked hand in hand. At ×3 stacks of Rampage, Onslaught had ×3 stacks. Maybe we could do something like that, where, you know, if you're at ×3 stacks of Rampage, never mind the bar at all, but if you're at ×3 stacks of Rampage, you're getting that matching fire rate from Ride the Bull. I still like the idea of the bar better though, because even though Rampage is really good on Huckleberry at 66%, I think that it needs to do something else. And I think actually one of the banes of Huckleberry's existence is yellow bars and orange bars, because they take a minute to chew through, especially in higher level activities. And so you get a kill, you got 30 rounds of ammo, you've got Ride the Bull ×2, you got Rampage ×3. Yeah, it's good, but is it going to be enough to kill that yellow bar? I don't know. I would say probably not. I don't think, I know it won't, you know, but I also think that it's important that we balance it so that it can't become like a boss shredder. Like, every exotic has a certain place in the game. So we don't want to make Huckleberry this incredible boss killing machine while also being an ad control monster. Like, I think that we build all out into ad control. Give it that 100% more damage as long as you're able to feed it and kill ads. You get the full reload every single time. And I would say, as for the catalyst, you know, a second ago we talked about replacing the catalyst. I would say a really awesome catalyst on Huckleberry would be either triple tap or 4 times the charm. That way, in case you do get to one of those big targets, you know, one of those yellow bar knights, or I'm sorry, an orange bar knight in a Grandmaster Nightfall, and you're at ×3 stacks of Rampage, or you're at a full bar, whichever one you decide would be a better idea. You have triple tap, so that now you can continue to lay on the trigger, so you're getting more ammo. Instead of just having 30 rounds in the magazine, you're getting, you know, like 45 or whatever it is. 45 rounds in the magazine. That way you have more ammo to chew through that enemy. Then when you get the kill, fully reload the magazine, you switch to another orange or yellow bar, sit there, lay on them, you're getting that ammo back. And of course, it's still a submachine gun, so it's not necessarily like easy to control, because Huckleberry's base recoil is really kind of, it's got a lot of side to side kick. It's not a vertical weapon, it's side to side. But I think that having that be the catalyst instead of just fully refilling the magazine would be much better. Now, of course, fully refilling the magazine should be built into the Ride the Bull perk. I don't think that a partial reload on Huckleberry is going to do it anymore. I think that what Bungie should do is change the catalyst to triple tap and give the catalyst functionality just to the base perk. Just want to make sure that's clear for everybody. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. We've talked long enough. That's my idea for Huckleberry. I think that would probably bring Huckleberry up to a very, very solid position in the meta. Like, you could have somebody run Huckleberry and they would be an absolute ad control monster. And then you throw in champion mods like, say, anti-barrier submachine gun or something like that. Huckleberry would shoot through champions crazy fast. I don't think Huckleberry needs any base level anti-champion mods with these changes in mind, but it would shoot through anti-barriers, or, you know, if Overload SMG, or God, if they ever do Unstoppable SMG, like, it would cut through these champions really, really quick, because you could just lay on the trigger. You're constantly feeding ammo back to the magazine with triple tap or fourth time's the charm, whichever one would work better. I'd kind of leave that up to Bungie. You've got increased damage because you killed a bunch of ads, and because you're still laying into a boss and dealing damage with it, you're keeping that bar full so that it's maintaining that damage. Now, I think that's one of the issues, like I said, would be potentially with bosses, because if you're constantly laying into a boss, you know, you're sitting there, you've got it, you're laying into it, you're building up that bar with triple tap and 4 times the charm, then the bar stops like when you reload. I think like once you activate a manual reload, that would totally remove the bars. Similar with Centrifuge, as soon as you activate your manual reload, it removes that entire bar. Maybe that could be the balancing factor of Huckleberry, is that entire bar is removed. I don't really know. Like, it's kind of weird, because it kind of would, I feel like it would run into the same position where, like, okay, like, I've killed a bunch of ads, but I run out of ammo, because I know that, like, one of the frustrating things is when you run out of ammo, you automatically start that reload. And maybe Bungie could put a delay. Well, never mind. I don't think that would work with Huckleberry. Yeah, but you're shooting ads, like, stop killing them, because I think the one problem with this whole design in my head that I've got in my head here, as I sit here and think about it, is, like, you know, you're laying on the trigger, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. You know, the point of the weapon is to not reload. It's to not reload. When you activate that reload, it takes the whole bar off, but at the same time, like, it's a spam weapon, like, it's a submachine gun. And I think that what would end up happening is people would be more careful with their ammo. They just shoot a little bit, you know, to kill an enemy, and then shoot a little bit, because you don't want to activate that manual reload, because it would take away that whole entire bar's worth of progress. And so it would turn it from this weapon that you want to be spamming and just killing everything with, you know, going fully automatic, guns blazing, so to speak, into a more precise weapon. You know, you want to tap fire so that you get kills, so that you're keeping the perk going and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't think that that's necessarily, I don't think it's necessarily conducive, is that the word I'm looking for, to, you know, the idea of being just this run around, hip fire, just mowing everything down. But yeah, anyways, look, this video's been way too long. Yeah, tell me your thoughts on it. What do you think about my ideas for Huckleberry? If you have any of your own personal ideas for what you'd want to see happen to Huckleberry, leave them down there too. Of course, if you liked today's video, drop a like, helps the channel a lot. Subscribe for more daily Destiny content, and do me a favor, watch the videos that you see on the end screen here, because for whatever reason, YouTube thinks you'll like them. Guys, I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.